Maimon was said the second night of Pesach after the Seder, Tavshech Rabbeinu. Which is quite amazing that after the Seder, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and after Dalat Kaisis and Matzah, and Rabbi Holzer Fabrengen, many sikhs, all the Biyurim, many of the Biyurim on the Haggadah from those years went all the way to Tavshin Lamed, and a Maimer. So, Kol HaKavod to Rabbi Yoel, anybody that could remember it and record it. Okay, let's begin. So just picture the scene. It's this is probably downstairs in 770. 3 o'clock in the morning, the second night, Pesach. Let's go there.
I didn't even know that the Rebbe is going to say my.
Everybody knows. No, it's not a Maimon, Fabrengen. The whole Seder. Every year. It started after the Seder. It started after the Seder. Everybody came to 770. Everybody came. Okay. And then we came down with holding the Haggadah and get Biyurim. So the Maimon and Sichos, there was no food or drink.
Wow.
Somebody when they gunim, but Biyurim, so they spoke for a few hours. So it begins with Lahov in Indian, Detlas, Kolilon, Goitlas. This is a quote from the Zohar. B'Shalach is talking about Kriyas Yamsuf, which is the completion of Yitzias Mitzrayim. And the Zohar makes the statement that 3 are included within 3. That's what that translation means. Tlas, Kolilan are incorporated goy within Tlas 3. What's the 3? So as we know, or as you know already, that the Sfiris and the paralleled within Nefesh Adam, the Koiches of a person are grouped in 3. Chabad, Chagas, Nehi. Right? Chacham bin Adas, one group of 3. Chagas, the primary midas, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. And then Netzach, Hoyd Yisoy, the auxiliary, as it were, they refer to midas, the midas by which we engage the world, is another group of 3. And then Malchus stands on its own. That's Mamish behavior, Pel Mamish, not a midah per se. So what does this mean? That 3 are absorbed or included within 3. So just a heads up, as he's going to say in the next few, okay, he says himself, so everybody knows that Yitzias Mitzrayim is the birth of Klal Yisrael. It's the birth. This is described, the Novi Yecheskel says so explicitly, it describes Yitzias Mitzrayim as Leidas Am Yisrael, the birth of the Jewish people. So if Yitzias Mitzrayim is the birth, so what's going on? It's the emergence of the fetus from the womb. And so Yitzias Mitzrayim, and likewise culminating in Kriyas Yamsuf, right? That's why it's a 7-day Yom Tov. Why is it 7-day Yom Tov? It left on 1 day. Why is it made 7 days? Because the Shleimus was Kriyas Yamsuf, Shvishal Pesach. So this is all the Yidden are in a matzav of spiritually in a womb. And then we emerge from the womb, and that begins the process of birth. And that's what he's going to explain now. I didn't learn the mind. Going to explain the inyan of birth.
Sorry, I missed what is the Maimon called?
It's called this, Lahav and Ian, these words.
Oh, okay.
Every Maimon is called by its opening words. So
it's on the chat. It was posted on the chat.
Oh, okay.
A copy of it a couple of days ago.
You have a copy. You don't have it, Rivka?
No. Okay. Now I know it's on the chat.
Yeah. On the Fabrengen chat, the Chassidus chat. So, yeah. So the union of what? Of the matzah, the state of Yidden, is a state of a fetus in the womb, and every year, therefore, we go through this avodah ever deeper, which the Maimon is going to explain. So, Shukim Moshel Havlad. So, what's been described in the Zohar is Detlas, Kolilon, Detlas, 3 within, absorbed within 3, as opposed to differentiated, all absorbed, all included, one within the other, is commercial havlad hanimtze b'meimoi. It's like a child or the fetus in the mother's womb, shaloshim mekupel bein birkov, that his head is doubled, as it were, between the knees. I'll just read to you the famous quote. The Masechta Nida is a famous quote that brought down Shulchan Aruch, how describing Rabbi Simloi taught. I just read it in English. Taught describing a baby in the mother's womb. He described it this way: to what is a fetus in its mother's womb comparable? The pincus, which means a folded notebook. A folded notebook, meaning, that's why he uses that mushal is another discussion. But he now goes on to describe, and it rests with its head on its two sides of its head. It rests with its head on its two sides of its head. I'm sorry, read that again. And it rests with his hands on its two sides of its head at the temples, its two arms on its two knees, its two heels behind it, and its head rests between its knees. Clear? Hands on the two sides of its head at the temples, the two arms on the two knees, and the two heels behind, underneath the child. And its head bent down between its knees. I'll read the rest of the quote. And its mouth is closed, and you pronounce this umbilicus, yeah? Umbilicus is open, and it eats from what its mother eats, and it drinks from what its mother drinks. It does not emit excrement, lest it kill its mother. But once it emerges into the airspace of the world, the closed limb, that is to say, its mouth opens, and the open limb, which is the cord, closes, as otherwise it cannot live for even 1 hour. Just the next quote, which is quoted in Chassidus, also, and a candle is lit for it above its head, and it gazes from one end of the world to the other, as the pasuk says, "Bol uneirei alai roishi la'orei eilech cheshech," which means when his lamp shined above my head, and by his light I walked through darkness. The Gemara continues, and do not wonder how one can see from one end of the world to the other. To the other, as a person can sleep here in this location and see a dream that takes place in a distant place, as distant as Spania, Spain. All of this is profoundly mystical and allegorical, but we get a sense. Okay, let's continue. So what's the meaning of the 3 incorporated within the 3? The spiritual state of being an embryo, of being a fetus, which is the state of Yidden before Yetzias Mitzrayim. He has Chabad, right? There's a head, the child has a head. And the Chagas, and the emotions are also present. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. Ella, nothing is expressive. All the faculties are present, but concealed and removed in the sense of from manifesting in a systematic and organized way, seichel, midas, etc. All you see looking at the fetus, what's manifested? Only the 3 lower faculties of netzach and hod yisoid. It's all wrapped up, the child's all wrapped up in itself. It's in these final, the lower 3 set, which the mind will talk about more later. Of netzach, hod, and yisoid, invested in them and concealed and not manifesting are the faculties of intellect and the faculties of emotion. What's present only is netzach, hod, yisoid. Now, just to say, because he does talk, I saw the next page about netzach. Netzach means, what does netzach mean?
Victory.
Huh?
Victory.
What does victory mean? Survival. I mean, you get to the end line, the finish line, no matter what. And that's what's there. The child is this, I want to survive, friends. And overcome any threat to my existence is present even in the fetus. Yeah. That's not emotion, it's deeper than it's not emotion, it's not intellect.
I'm ksheirif.
Yeah. So this is the meaning of the Zohar. Plus 3, Kolilon are incorporated, goy within plus the other 3, etc. What we're talking about is Chabad is invested in Chagas, and Chagas is invested where? In the very lowest. As it goes on to say Chabad b'Chagas, Chabad is invested in the emotions, v'Chagas b'Nehi, and then the emotions and the He, and all you see is the external faculties of the child, of the entity. Now, what this all got to do with what this all got to do? It's explained in Droshis Chassidus, in Maamorim, B'Teiles Chaim, in Mittler Rebbe, the Bamaschil, Vatirena Miyaldos, talking there about Shifra and Po, about Yocheved and Miriam. So in that, Mayim explains there, Shezer Klolos in the Golos Mitzrayim. What's being described here is what Golos is all about. It goes without saying, it means our Golos too. Kiyadu, as it's known from Chassidus, our Golos Nimshal Ibor, that Golos is compared to a state of pregnancy. Everything is present, but nothing is working in a systematic way. We just quoted the Gemara, that the Gemara draw an analogy between the child in the womb to a dream, right? If you wonder how you could be in one place and see another place, that's how it is in a dream. So that's another mashal for Golos. Because what's a dream? What's the sleep? Not so much a dream. Golos is compared to the sleep-like state. Because what's a sleep? The person doesn't disappear. The seichel is there, the midas is there, but nothing's functioning in an orderly way. So it's another parallel, the union of sleep. So that's the union of Golos, kevlad, like a child, like the fetus, in his mother's womb, birkov, that his head is doubled down folded literally, between his knees. Shemoir al helem bistalchus samochen, which indicates spiritually, it means that the intellect is not firing. There's no understanding of godliness, no understanding of anything properly. Mitzadzen nasing in hagolos, and therefore, since the seichel is not firing, the understanding, the seeing of godliness is not happening. So therefore, that causes golos hamitzriyim by Yisrael, that Mitzrayim, the Egyptians, ruled over a Yid. Why? Because he's not expressive, he's not understanding, he's not feeling, and therefore he's subject to being subjugated. More detail now. How is it that the Mitzrayim could dominate Eden? That's because they were getting nourished from Kedusha more than they should. How did this happen? How does this happen? What happens when the intellect retreats? This is similar to the mind we just learned about Zikorin. When you forget something, what happens is that it doesn't disappear, it retreats to the source. That's what we're describing here too. There is Moichin, but what's Golos? It's not manifesting, so it all withdraws within. So when you have this, so the concealment of intellect doesn't disappear. Again, withdraws inwards. So therefore, what happens is, again, to this mamish the mind we just learned, this is the hemshech. So the intellect withdraws. Where does the intellect go? In the state of Golos. So it doesn't disappear, it goes and withdraws within the soul essence. Now Hashem, responds in kind. Actually works both ways. Godliness is concealed, so the Yid is concealed, the Yid is concealed, godliness is concealed. The net result of that is that since the midas, the faculties withdrawn to the essence of the neshama, the way the faculties are in the essence, they're much loftier than the way they are manifested in the actual body. To elaborate a little bit, the way intellect is in the etzem and nefesh, it's pure, and the potential there is tremendous intellectual achievement and insight and discovery, because the etzem and nefesh is relatively infinite. So the faculties, as they exist within the source, the potential for the expression is tremendous. But once they manifest in a limited way, each person on their level. But as they go back to the source, the power source within the nefesh of seichel, there, the way the seichel exists, in other words, in potential, in koyach, has the potential for the deepest understanding and insight. The pale that manifests each nefesh according to the divine decree, according to its level, very limited way. So there's a ma'ilin chesed. He's saying, in other words, when the seichel withdraws to that etzem nefesh, the ma'ila is there. The seichel is the medical level. The chesed is not manifesting; it's just potential. It's not expressing itself, but the potential is very great, and therefore, but the Gemara say it is all to explain how the Mitzrayim therefore get nourishment. When the likus is not manifested in a structured way of ishtalshalos coming down into the world in an orderly way, and the likus retreats to its source, as it were, so it's very lofty. The problem is that lofty level, Klippa can also be nourished. Adra, because it's so lofty, as he goes on to say. The Gemara said the Ma'ila Inyan. So what's the parallel? What's the parallel above within the likus? Inyan asiluk v'aliyas hameichin l'shorshon l'makodim batzmus hamaytil. He's saying that Chochmah Datzilus and Chabad Datzilus and all of Ishtalshalus in Zman HaGolos, it's not manifesting, and it's all withdrawn to the source in the essence of the Maitzel. Maitzel means the emanator, the source that emanates from which Atzilus comes. Relatively speaking, it's the source. Therefore, here's the point: it's such a lofty level, such a transcendent level, in the face of which darkness and light is equal. It's beyond creation, in other words. So if darkness and light is equal, then even Klippa can get nourishment. Like the Moshe, right? That the Moshe of the spider, a spider is not tolerated in your house. But in the palace, it is. You think if a person's ordinary domicile, he won't tolerate a spider. In the domicile of all domiciles, the palace of the king, for sure, it wouldn't be tolerated. The answer is it is, because no one even notices it. It's so vast, the columns are so high, and it's so vast that the spider makes his little web up there at the top, and no one notices. Why? Because of its vastness. Now, the spider is a moshel for Klippa, for many reasons.
In the nimshal that's in the nimshal, but the moshel, it's there.
Let me just finish. So therefore, mitzad, when elikus, when elikus is not manifesting in an orderly, structured way all the way down, seder shtalshalus, and what is only present is the source, which is relatively infinite, then even Klippa has its place, is tolerated. Because of what? Its insignificance. Because of its insignificance. Are we clear? Like the spider in the palace, because it's so vast, it's not tifus mokim. It's not significant, therefore it can be lodged there and siphon there and be gorged in it. What do you want to say? Chaim.
It is there, but we don't make any attention to it. I mean, but it's not that it's
not
there.
He wants to be much, and that's why the Mitzrayim could be dominate and control Yidden, because Klip is gorged. Continuing inside the text, And therefore, from this makivdik transcendent level, in the face of the infinite, all is equal. This is what Haman argued. Haman argued this whole Nakuda, that in the face of the Shara Hamishim, of the Nun Sharibin, that's the 50 cubits of the Olikus, but hence the gallows is 50 cubits high. There, Or Haman and Baruch Matcha the same gematria, meaning that in the face of the infinite, Choshech and Oir is all equal. That's why a Geidel treats everything equally. That's why it's called Purim, because he argued that the Likus, he pinned God at the level of infinite. In the face of infinite, everything is equal. So show your true face. You don't care. Nothing makes a difference. Let me get away with this. Atzmos is Boichen, no. Atzmos is Boichen that he wants Baruch Modchen or Haman. He couldn't conceive that God's beyond infinite. In his conception, God's infinite. At the end of the day, God doesn't care and cannot care. It's all for us. So I'll burn in hell for this. I'll burn in hell. But you show your true face, pull off your mask. That's what I'm saying. Stop hiding behind Sedish Talshalus. Stop hiding behind Chachma, Chesed, and Gevurah, right and wrong and values. And where light is good and dark is bad, and show your true face. You don't care. Let me get away with this. Butt out. Be honest for once. Stop disguising yourself. That's the Nakud that Haman is saying. You're wearing a mask. He pulls back the mask, which is Sedish Talshalus, and then to him he revealed the infinite God that cannot care. What he couldn't know is that's also a mask. Bligvul is also a mask, and Atzmos is beyond all and chooses to care. Okay, that's not so much the Nakuda here at this point. At any rate, what he wants to bring it now is this Dargetaka Bligvul. That Golus is a level where what? Where Elikus is not being drawn down and suffused into the world, tailored to the world. It's not coming down to Ishtalshalus. The Koiches withdraw to the source. The source is transcendent. So if the source is transcendent, then even Klippa has its place. And therefore the Mitzrayim were able to dominate Eden. Is this kind of clear? Yes? Yeah? Okay, we can elaborate, and tomorrow we'll give more hasbara, but just go a little bit further here. A beautiful Indian. This answers a fascinating question. Gamma Indian, the Gidul Moishe bebeis Parak. Moishe grows up where in the house of Parak. The child grew, but to be should be Yud there. The base Parak, no, the bas Parak, and they brought him to Parak's daughter. And he became
in the Sefer Memorim. It says Vatavoyu lebas Parak.
What?
I mean, in my Sefer, in Sefer Memorim, it says Vatavoyu lebas Parak.
Well, we can see what the pasuk says. The pasuk is what it says. The l'chayda kiven sheyoda shehu miyalda even. The question is, since why would they take him? It's an astounding question. They're killing all the children, all the Jewish children, and they're allowing Moshe Rabbeinu. They knew he was a Jewish child. She said, she recognized that he was a Jewish child. So why weren't they afraid? In brackets, why, like they were afraid of all of the Jewish children. Every Jewish child, actually, that is born should be cast into the Nile. They bring him up there. The answer is because he is revealed the level of Makiv and the level the she called him Moshe. I don't rush this. The point is that Moshe Rabbeinu himself, his shirish is from this level of my milyonim Makiv Ha'idrishtalshalus, and therefore they can have the upper hand as well. So we'll elaborate further tomorrow. Be'ezer Hashem. I don't know what
She has Rahman on it.
What?
She
Bas Paris is Rahman from Moishe, so and she's Bas Paris, so that's what she wants. The
Traditional Mikra.
Bas Paris has Rahman from Moishe, and so she just brings them, and she could do what she wants.
Bus power, it's not really working together.
No, she converted. She's a Giyera. She went down to, but how could she hide this? And her maidens were with, she said so in the presence of her handmaidens. She wasn't pregnant, she wasn't married. She comes home with a child, 3 months old. You have to be Sherlock Holmes to figure it out. I mean, there are other tirutzim. The other teretz is that the whole thing was the astrologers told Pari. So once Moshe was put into the Nile, so they saw that the Savior was drowned. They didn't see it clearly. They didn't see clearly that he was on top of the water, not in the water. So they said, mission accomplished, and now even Jewish children could live. That's in Pashtus. Which is also a very good thing, that Moshe Rabbeinu is saving Jewish children with his very birth. And he's already saving, and non-Jewish children, because Pari drowned everybody. So they didn't see clearly. They said, mission accomplished. So the whole decree was over. That's in Pashtus. But this is another teretz which we'll see B'ez Hashem tomorrow. We're continuing up Chassidus. Okay.